Hi, everybody. This is No Kill in Motion. I'm here today with Alan Rosenberg from the New Jersey Animal Observer, Shirley Marsh from Yes Biscuit, and Aubrey Kavanaugh from No Kill Huntsville. I'm David Smith from No Kill Colorado. So I want to talk about rescue. Rescue is important, right? None of us are going to deny that. It's part of the no kill equation, right? Rescue partnerships. We all know that we need that. But rescue seems to be the thing that everyone does. Like whenever you talk to any animal advocate, or the vast majority, if they have something in their head, it's I want to start my rescue one day, or open a shelter kind of thing. And it's really important, right? We need people out there nonstop trying to get animals into loving families. So that's important. But I see a lot of negativities around that. Well, I have to do this because if people just, and it's, insert whatever you want in there. If they just spay neuter, if they just adopted more, if they just fostered it, and all that kind of thing. And like I said, no one here opposes rescuing any homeless pet, but there's 11 programs in the no-kill equation, 11 programs and services. These all work comprehensively together, and people keep concentrating on rescue. What do we say to them? What do we do about that? Alan, do you want to start with your thoughts on this?
Well, I think the first thing to know is if you look at history, the experience of shelters that have sustained no kill for a long period of time, they typically only send 10% or fewer of their animals to rescues. The reason being is if you're relying on rescues for, I don't know, 20, 30, 40, 50% or more of your animals, well, ultimately there's going to be a problem where the rescues can't fill the void, and you're going to start killing animals. Or people are going to think, oh, well, they have a high live release rate. We don't need to send animals to, we don't need to rescue animals from that facility. And the shelter's not going to have the other 10 no-kill equation programs to save animals or keep them out of the shelter, or improve their care. So it absolutely is, your time is better spent, at least in the long term, from a long-term perspective, is to helping the shelter develop all 11 no-kill equation programs. Rescue should be seen as a temporary measure to help a shelter save animals while it's developing the other 10 no-kill equation programs to be self-sufficient. There will always be some animals that should go to rescue. That 10% of animals or less usually are your severe medical cases or your severe behavior cases for dogs. And that really is where rescue should focus their energy on in these communities. So I would say is, yes, continue rescuing. It's very important. But in the long term, you need to help the shelter get those other no-kill equation programs implemented so it can sustain no-kill instead of having a fire drill every time they're threatening to kill an animal.
Yeah, and I from a very localized view in Colorado that I have, that's exactly what I usually say about Texas, because we import 40 to 50,000 animals a year from out of state into Colorado because we have that many adopters and fosters. That's a good thing, but that they're using it as the cure as opposed to it's just a symptomatic thing. These Texas shelters, and I say Texas because that's where we get the most of them. These Texas shelters have to start doing it locally. If they put in the no-kill equation and start doing a better job locally, Colorado doesn't have to be their safe landing. And then we can help other neighbors, which is great. We should. And we're not a no-kill state today. So we should still be saving every healthy, treatable animal here. We could still help our neighbors with tens of thousands of animals every year. Shirley, I'm going to move to you. Rescue's not the only thing. There are other things that matter.
Absolutely. And I understand why so many people are attracted to rescue. And I certainly don't want to be the one to say, no, you're not doing, the best that you could do for your local animals. But what I would say is, at least educate yourself about all the programs of the no-kill equation, the programs that are necessary to make and sustain a no-kill community, because even if you are dedicated to continuing to rescue animals, just educating yourself is going to inform your conversations that you have with people. It's going to inform the things you share on social media. It's going to be a much more comprehensive approach, I think, to rescue than simply running the regular fire drills, as was just mentioned. So at least start there. If you're committed to rescuing and you don't feel you can do anything else, just start with the educating yourself and becoming familiar with the programs.
You know, even when I forget it was that you made me think of something, is that because you do see this, you know, there is more spay neuter programs out there, low cost, no cost, or at least in my area. And sometimes they get pigeonholed too. It's like spay neuter, that's it, right? And again, it's the irresponsible public thing, right? It's like if they just spayed neuter, it's like, it's not just that. It's important. It's one of the programs of the no-kill equation. We have spay neuter and we have TNR. So we almost have a corollary to spay and neuter. But those one things don't do it. It's coordinating all of those things together. Aubrey, let's hear your thoughts to close out.
I've got 3 of them. The first one is, I saw a post on Facebook yesterday where a woman was complaining because she wanted to adopt from her local animal shelter, and there were animals in the building, but she was told she couldn't adopt because they had already had prior commitments to rescue groups. And I thought, on one hand, okay, that's great. But on another hand, that shelter is cutting itself off from the public that it needs to be engaged in life saving. So back to what Alan said, in terms of the percentage of the number of animals that should go to rescue group, a shelter networking with rescue groups, absolutely needed, but they still have to have animals available for the public to adopt to keep the public being engaged in what's happening. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I work in an area that is just rescue heavy. And I think part of why there's so many rescue groups is because for so many years, the shelter killed so many animals that you had people creating nonprofits left and right because they were trying to meet the need that the shelter wasn't meeting. They knew the shelter wasn't keeping animals alive, so these rescues kept popping up. So now you have all these rescue groups, they're all competing for the same adopters, the same fosters, the same donors. And I had a woman the other day tell me she was thinking of starting a new rescue group. And I said, well, what is it that you hope to achieve? And I'm not against people starting a nonprofit, but what I'd love to see is, like in our area, I'd love to see somebody start a nonprofit where the focus is not on rescuing animals, but on helping animals stay in existing homes. Like a nonprofit that's like keepyourpet.com or something where people get the help that they need to maybe if they need to overcome a behavioral issue, or they need to know where to find food, or they need family, animal friendly housing. That kind of nonprofit that's not strictly a rescue group. There are other ways that are oriented toward the no-kill equation, those 11 elements. It could be a nonprofit that focuses on helping lost pets get back home and promotes microchipping. It doesn't always have to be about rescue, but can still help keep animals from entering shelters where they're destroyed. And the third thing I wanted to say, and Shirley touched on this, is the rescuers in Huntsville, Alabama know what happened with the shelter and know what changed. And so now they focus their attention on other areas where animals are considered more at risk. I wish that they would do more to educate themselves about the no-kill equation and about how all these programs work together, because even though Huntsville has changed and has made a lot of progress, still not a no-kill community, but it's made a lot of progress. Yeah, now they're focusing on those other areas, but if they were more well-versed in the equation, they may be able to affect change in those areas. So it's not enough to ship from Huntsville to go over to what we call the Shoals area of Alabama and pull animals from those shelters if you're not doing anything to try to affect change in those places so they can achieve similar success to that in Huntsville. So I have a chapter or part of my book about this where I talk about the story of the beach and starfish. and every rescued animal is a starfish. Well, instead of just continuing to treat those animals as starfish and getting them off the beach, I wish rescuers would figure out, why do they end up on the beach in the first place? How can we keep them from ending up on the beach? And then how can we work together to get them off the beach? So education would be really important toward them being part of the bigger picture. I applaud what they do. I just wish that they would be a little bit more in tune to, why am I working so hard, and what could I do maybe to work more effectively and maybe not quite so hard.
Yeah, in the long term, I like that. So rescuers, just, everybody here loves you. Everybody here agrees with rescuers. That's not at all what we're saying, but we do need to look at the long term, the way that we can actually solve the underlying problem that Aubrey was just talking about. Shirley, you had something you wanted to add, I think.
Just a quick thing, good news for any shelter director who has the public come in and says, we're holding these animals for rescue. An animal who wants to be adopted does not need rescue. So good news.
Yeah, add a clause to your contract. If a adopter walks in, they get the animal.
All right, I
That
love
should
that.
incentivize the rescues to move quicker too.
We're going to end on that note, though. I'm David Smith from No Kill Colorado, Aubrey Kavanaugh from No Kill Huntsville, Shirley Marsh from Yes Biscuit, Alan Rosenberg from New Jersey Animal Observer. You're here at No Kill in Motion. We will see you next time. Thanks for joining.